President Obama speaks to the nation and world leaders to gather support in the wake of Syria's crisis.
Cleveland kidnapper Ariel Castro cuts his life sentence in an unexpected way.
And it's election season for San Diego again. Find out who backed out and who's running for mayor.
It's hot and humid in San Diego and the rim fire is still burning. When will things cool down for California? Newscene starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Newscene. I'm Charlie Veramontes.
And I'm Nate Holmes. Thank you for joining us.
President Obama has arrived in Russia for the G20 summit this week, but the global economy will not be the only thing to discuss. The possible strike on Syria will be a major topic of discussion. Scientists have found traces of sarin gas in clothing and soil samples. The samples were taken from a patient treated for apparent chemical weapons exposure last month near Damascus. The scientists at the Porton Down Military Laboratory will be sharing its findings with the United Nations. The news comes as world leaders gather in Russia for the G20 summit. Russian President Vladimir Putin has confirmed Syria will be on the agenda. President Obama will be pushing to get support for a military strike against the Damascus regime.
I think our joint recognition that the use of chemical weapons in Syria is not only a tragedy, but also a violation of international law that must be addressed.
On Wednesday, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted 10-7 authorizing President Obama to take military action in Syria. Which actions are taken are up for debate.
This is not a choice between doing nothing and doing a military strike. There are other ways to put pressure internationally on the Assad regime to isolate him.
The government of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is being accused of using chemical weapons against civilians. The U.S. said the attack happened on August 21st on the outskirts of Damascus, which killed more than 1,400 people. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has denied involvement. With the G20 summit all wrapped up, no changes were made over Syria. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on a one-on-one meeting with President Obama he had not changed his position over Syria. And with a vote on Syria expected next week, legislators, many are wondering what's next. Our Marlena Castellanos is here to fill us in.
Thank you, Charlie. Nate, obviously this is an issue that is on everybody's mind. Across the country, the public is speaking up on U.S. involvement in Syria, and here at City College, many are doing the same.
I would recommend them to go to Syria because it's really helpful than taking the soldiers there and losing lives. They can just use air bombs and everything like that instead of just, taking our soldiers over there and wasting another millions of dollars.
I don't think there's a good cause for it. I think we're not really going to get much out of it.
America's just going over there to do strikes on them, and who knows what's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to be something small that's going to turn out to get even bigger.
Professor Pete Haro teaches history at City College and has the following to say about public support against Syria.
American people are a lot more critical this time around compared to Iraq in, let's say, 2002, 2003, about the reasons being given for a military intervention in the Middle East. We are basically being asked to, believe what the federal government, the Obama administration is telling us with regards to the use of chemical weapons. So I think there's a much higher level of healthy skepticism.
A poll released by ABC News Washington poll this week reveals over 50% of the public opposes U.S. intervention in Syria. So Charlie, Nate, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. President Obama will address the nation next Tuesday, and we'll have to see if that will be enough to get support.
Thank you, Marilyn. Let's see what happens on Tuesday.
Thank you. With more news on Syria, Pope Francis is asking people to join him this weekend in a day of fasting for peace in Syria. Francis is inviting people of all faiths to join him Saturday evening in St. Peter's Square to invoke the gift of peace for Syria and the rest of the Middle East. Francis spoke to tens of thousands of people gathered in the square last weekend. He says, quote, "The world needs to see gestures of peace and hear words of peace." The 5-hour-long prayer vigil in the square tomorrow night will last until midnight.
And this week, Jewish people around the world are celebrating Rosh Hashanah, or the Jewish New Year. Tonight marks the last night on which the holiday celebrates the anniversary of the creation of Adam and Eve. A central tradition of the holiday is the blowing of the shofar, or ram's horn. Rosh Hashanah is the first of the Jewish high holidays, ending 10 days from now with Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. On the Hebrew calendar, the year is now 5774.
Convicted Cleveland kidnapper Ariel Castro is now dead. Castro was sentenced to life in prison for kidnapping and sexually assaulting 3 Cleveland teenagers. He was found hanged in his prison cell around 6:30 Wednesday night. Castro apparently hung himself despite being in the maximum security section of the prison. Officials there claimed he was being checked on every 30 minutes by prison security.
I was stunned, and the reason why I was stunned is I think it's so unusual for a prisoner who's in the system for only 30 days to be found dead in a cell.
Castro had only served a month and 2 days of his prison sentence at the time of his death.
September is National Recovery Month. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration is urging people to take the first step towards recovery. The group wants people to know that recovery from the disease of addiction or mental health is available oftentimes for free. With the support of others, the path towards recovery from mental and/or substance use disorder is effective and people can recover. For more information, contact recoverymonth.gov.
And the state of Texas is denying federal benefits to same-sex couples. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta stated that the same-sex partners who signed the Declaration of Domestic Partnership form are allowed to receive several benefits. Despite being a new federal law, Texas is refusing to give those same-sex benefits to couples, going against the state laws.
The holiday season will be here before you know it, and so will the new iPhone. Apple will hold an event September 10th to set in motion the success of the iPhone 5. Apple will offer trade-ins of old iPhones for the new iPhone, which will come equipped with a fingerprint scanner. This will eliminate the need for passwords and lock screens. Apple is also rumored to be working on a cheaper version of the iPhone that would be sold in emerging markets.
And here's some bad news for Apple. A U.S. judge ruled today that Apple can't make agreements with publishers to limit the pricing of ebooks. Apple was found guilty in the July of conspiring with publishers for price fixing. The 5-year sentence includes a 2-year review of Apple's antitrust compliance policies, procedures, and training.
The homeless citizens of Seattle, Washington, have the state actually suggesting the idea of homeless camps. Homeless camps, also called tent cities, are encampments which up to 100 people that live on public and private land. Tent cities are not just in Seattle. Tent cities have also been spotted here in San Diego. Balboa Park and areas around downtown have become accustomed to tent camps. No action has been set forth as of yet to change the activity of tent cities in San Diego.
Wairika, a Northern California county, has residents complaining to the state capitol. Locals believe they are not being represented and would like to become their own state. The Siskiyou County residents have concerns about water rights and a rural fire prevention fee. Supporters want other countries in Northern California and Southern Oregon to join them in becoming a new state. The U.S. Congress and the state legislature would have to approve.
And investigators for the Rim Fire determined a hunter who allowed an illegal campfire to leap out of control caused a massive blaze. The fire, which started back in August, has already consumed more than 370 square miles of Sierra Nevada forest. According to fire officials, more than 100 structures have been destroyed, including 11 homes. The fire is 80% contained, and crews don't expect full containment before September 20th. More than 4,000 firefighters continue to battle the blaze.
And coming up, while one of San Diego's most traditional restaurants might be coming to a close.
And the NFL season has taken off. More about Payne's Manny aerial assault when we come back.